A very, very beautiful evening to you. You're welcome to another exciting edition of Sport Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Kingsley Mano. I'm very, very happy, of course, to be back here to bring you up to speed with the latest revolving around the beautiful world of sport. On today's edition of the show, we shall take a look at the WTA finals in tennis. Really, of course, getting heated at the moment. Also going to take a look at some interesting stories coming from basketball. Not forgetting the UEFA Champions League as match day 4, of course, will be upon us today once again. Chelsea, Manchester City, of course, getting ready for an exciting one tonight. These and many more will be yours after this short break. Stay with us right back. Welcome back to Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Joining me on today's edition of the show is Ekpo Temple. Good evening to you and welcome to the show.
It's a delight to be here. Always a pleasure. Good evening.
I also have tennis expert Kelechi Clifford. Good evening to you and welcome to the show, Kelechi.
Good evening to you, Kingsley. Thanks for having me on Show today.
All right, let's quickly start the show with basketball this evening as River Supers guide Kevin Amayo has said he and his teammates will put up a bigger show in the Final Four of the 2025 Nigerian Basketball Premier League as they hope to retain their title and win a 7th crown overall. Amayo dropped 17 points to lead River Supers to an 83-69 victory over Kwara Falcons over the weekend, as the defending champions wrap up their final 8 playoffs in comfortable fashion. The Nigerian Canadian who missed River Supers loss to Lagos Legends due to fitness concerns put up a commanding performance against Kwara Falcons, which included a game-high 5 assists as well as 5 rebounds. River Supers will attempt to successfully defend their title for the second year running against the likes of Lagos Legends, Boko City Chief and Nigerian Custom in Port Harcourt from November 20th to November 24 as well. Kevin Amayo is talking tough Temple. What do you make of it? He said the River Supers, of course, are ready, for the Final Four.
Yeah, they should. I think that he's not been the best of the Amayo we saw last season. The Amayo that won the Nigeria Premier Basketball League MVP, but you understand, he just came in few days. The game was already on, and he's yet to gel with the team. And truly, if you read it on paper and see the results on paper, you will not really appreciate the effort this guy putting on the court, to get this job done. So when you see 83-69, you just think that, it's not River Supers, But I tell you, it's not magical. It takes a whole lot of effort. And so, yes, he was not able to pull. He's not at the best as compared to last season, but it's understandable because a player who just came in, he has not gelled with the team. In fact, we even thank God that he was able to put in that he posted those points, those rebounds, and those assists in the last game, of the final 8. I watched that game on Friday, before the last 2 games. And Amayo didn't play because he had an injury in that particular encounter at 59 Niger Street. And I looked at the boys, the way they played against Lagos Legend that day. I asked myself, would Amayo have made a difference on a game like this? Maybe because Olisemeka was fantastic on the day, put some maximum point. But I think if Amayo says that they have what it takes to go far, then you believe it because arguably, if you look at the score depth, you want to also think that River Supers have enough score depth as compared to others. But take nothing away from Boko City Chief, take nothing away from Lagos Legend, and maybe Nigerian Custom. But like I said earlier, the experience garnered over the last 2 years cannot be in vain. So when Amayo says that they will be well prepared for the Super 4 that comes up in 2 weeks' time, then I believe that truly by then they would have gelled because as it stands now, they are preparing. The good thing is that this game will still be played in their home turf, and so they will prepare massively. He will have more time to gel with the team now. Maybe for 1 week, maybe for 2 weeks, but I tell you, we are going to see different Amayo come the Super 4.
Taking a look at the intensity of the competition, from what we're seeing, the likes of Lagos Legends putting up a very impressive performance. You talk about Nigerian Custom and Boko City Chief as well. Do you think it's going to be business as usual, for River Supers, in terms of maybe going all the way and winning this one?
It will not be business as usual, but on paper, River Supers will look better to still retain the trophy. And I said this because I watched the best game of the tournament, the final 8 on Friday, live. And I looked at the way Lagos Legend played with all tenacity and resilience. And I felt that, come on, this is basketball in Nigeria. Take nothing for granted. I think that if not for the experience of top players in the spheres of Rivers, talk about the likes of, what is this guy, the Americana, and the Malik, as well as certain, some of the guys, that the foreigners that blended with Rivers Hoopers. If it was just the normal guys that we knew, I don't think that they would have pulled this magic. So if you ask me, I think River Supers, yes, that experience will count for something because they have the players that have played in BAL. And when you play in BAL, it's a different experience altogether. And when you come back, if you are fit enough, you can display. It's been a wonderful time, but it won't be business as usual in the area of getting the point the way it should be. But these River Supers have played these guys. They played Boko City Chief, they played Lagos Legend, and playing them again will just be a continuous thing. The area of improvement we worked upon according to what Ogo Daudu has said, and I don't think that we expect anything less. The point margin may be very slim. They lost to Lagos Legend, no doubt, but I think that in the reverse case, anything can happen. But River Supers do know that if they must pick that solitary ticket to BAL, nothing should be left unturned. No stone certainly should be left unturned. And I know that that's the thinking. When you're playing in front of your spectators, your fans, that's another energy, that's another added advantage and motivation. So for me, everything will work for River Supers. But I still think that if the boys are training, counting down to the big Super 4, then that will be fine because I expect that it will be fireworks when the time comes.
All right, let's see how this one, of course, will go down. We're expecting lots, of course, from River Supers this point in time. Man, Kevin Amayo, of course, is talking tough. He said that River Supers will be very much ready for the Final 4 down here in Port Harcourt. And we'll see how that one, of course, will go down. But Kelechi, let's take a look at the NBA this moment. What do you make of it? Been about few weeks now since the NBA started. How has it been for you?
The NBA has really been fantastic. Talking about one of the best leagues in the world. Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champions, have not disappointed so far. They've actually won all games possible, and in the Western Conference, it's also shaping up as well. We've seen so many competitions from, the Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, the Dallas Mavericks as well, and surprisingly, Portland Trail Blazers have actually been putting up a huge fight so far as well. So things are really shaping up as well, even in the Eastern Conference. Boston Celtics losing Jason Tatum, but no problems for them. They've still been able to grind some results, even despite losing some of their key players like Drew Holiday to Portland Trail Blazers, like Kristaps Porzingis also losing their big man. But regardless, we've got some young players who've actually been putting up a fight. So it's been really interesting for Milwaukee Bucks as well. Jan Antetokounmpo, we saw him getting the winner against the Pacers the other day. And so far, so good. It's been really competitive, and we have 11 games to look out for this night as well. So the NBA, always interesting as possible and unpredictable, but kudos to OKC for still picking up where they left off since last season.
Let's take a look at the LA Lakers. Been a shaky start for them. I've seen with the absence of their key man, talking about LeBron James. What do you make of this season so far for the LA Lakers?
Because we know how important LeBron James is to this team. We know that despite his age, he really carried them up until the playoff where they got knocked out so early. But they've got Luka Doncic. But interestingly, it's no other person than Austin Reeves who's actually been putting up a show for them. They scored 50+ points the other game, and even winning some games without Luka Doncic and LeBron James, which is actually amazing. So no LeBron James, no Luka Doncic sometimes, but no problem because they've got Austin Reeves. And the Lakers, the pressure is always going to be on them if they can actually win the NBA one more time with LeBron James not on his side. So they've actually not done really bad. I think what's really interesting is how Luka Doncic can actually step up in place of LeBron James when he retires, because obviously next 2-3 seasons we're not going to be seeing LeBron James again. So the younger players have to step up. We've got a new center as well, Aiton, who's actually come from Portland Trail Blazers, who's actually been fantastic so far. So the Lakers have some young players that they can actually look for points from Rui Hachimura as well. So these young players can actually step up in place of LeBron James, and let's see how serious that back injury he has been nursing for a while can actually be. We don't know how long it is, but I expect to see LeBron James back in no time.
All right, let's see how this one, of course, will go then. And another team, of course, we have to look at before we stay away from the NBA is the Golden State Warriors. Kelechi, earlier as of today, they got a very impressive result against the Phoenix Suns, so 118 to 107. It ended in that one. Phoenix Suns, how do you see the season for them? Of course, their key man Steph Curry, also putting up some high level of performance down there.
Yeah, for Steph Curry, it's always going to be he putting up the points for Golden State Warriors. He's the key man, he's the main man, and he's got somebody to assist him as well. That's Jimmy Butler in the mix as well. So for Phoenix Suns, they've not really had a good start, losing their main man, Kevin Durant, which was actually a big blow for them, losing to the Houston Rockets. They've been able to at least grind out some results, especially against Utah Jazz the other day, where they lost on overtime. But the Phoenix Suns is actually being a bit of who can actually step up in place of Kevin Durant. Now they've still got Devin Booker. Interestingly, they lost Bradley Beal also as well last season, so it's going to be them struggling all season from what I see so far. But the good thing is that Devin Booker is fit and he's injury free to start the season, so he can actually be someone who can inspire them so far. But losing yesterday to Golden State Warriors was not a surprise, because Golden State have always been fantastic since the season started. And it's going to be interesting if they can actually keep up with that form. But for Phoenix Suns, it's definitely going to be a struggle all season, if you ask me.
All right, let's take a look at some results we saw earlier as of today. As of course, we saw the Raptors. They get the job done. They got the job done against Milwaukee Bucks. Ended 128 to 100 down there. Chicago Bulls. They got past Philadelphia 76ers. 113 to 111 ended down there. The Pelicans, of course, got past Hornets. 116 to 112. Atlanta Hawks beat Orlando Magic 127 to 112. And we told the Golden State Warriors, of course, got past the Phoenix Suns 118 to 107. Clippers, of course, they lost to Oklahoma City Thunder 126 to 107. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Of course, there are other fixtures tonight, and we'll, of course, take a look at that tomorrow at 7 a.m. when we return for Sports Talk. But let's take a look at tennis because the WTA finals is on. As we saw, swing over to, let's talking about the WTA final now. Arina Sabalenka, the world #1, overcame Jessica Pegula in a thrilling 3-set encounter. It ended 6-4, 2-6, 6-3. We also saw defending champion Kokugov found her rhythm again, sweeping aside Italy's Jasmine Paolini in straight sets 6-3, 6-2. Unfortunately for Paolini, that loss means she's out of the tournament. With Sabalenka, Gauff and Pegula still in the mix in the Steph Graf group, the qualification race is getting tight. Kelechi, what do you make of the Steph Graf group where we have the likes of Sabalenka, we have the likes of Coco Gauff this time, and Jessica Pegula? How do you see that group, panning out?
It's a group of death, if you ask me, because it's a must-win for all three of them in the last game. And we've seen Sabalenka win the first 2 games. It didn't really come easy for her, but for Coco Gauff and Jessica Pegula, they need to win the next games for them to stand a chance to get through and finish in first or second. And so the interesting part is that anybody can actually finish first and anybody can actually qualify. All you need to do is to win your game today. And for Sabalenka, I think that the last game against Pegula was not really an easy one. For Coco Gauff, she knows how to find her rhythm when it matters the most, and I really like to see if she can actually defend this title. So it's going to be a very, very important match for all 3 of them, and I'm looking forward to seeing who actually comes out top. But I expect Sabalenka to qualify, and I expect Jessica Pegula to do her job. It's all about what Coco Gauff can actually do against Sabalenka, which is going to be a difficult match for her because of the surface involved in this one, which is hard court.
Temple, who are you rooting for? Of course, in that group, we have Arina Sabalenka, Jessica Pegula, and as well defending champion Cory Coco Gauff.
Like Clifford did mention there, I think that it's a very hard one to call. Very hard in the sense that for me, I can easily single out Arina Sabalenka. The reason is simple. I think that she will not lose against Cory Coco Gauff. And I say that because she's very hungry to getting this particular title. She's there to win this particular one. And if you look at the way she played against Jessica Pegula, coming back from that second set defeat to winning that particular one, I think that it's just clear what her intents are. And arguably, if she qualifies, which I think she will, depending whatever will happen. For Pegula is certain. I don't think that Paolini will get anything out of Jessica Pegula. I saw the way Pegula, dispatched Cory Coco Gauff in fine fashion. We saw that spirit that drove her that very day when she played against her on the court. And I just told myself, come on, it looks as though it will be Jessica Pegula and maybe Arina Sabalenka, except something happened and maybe Paolini gets something, because Paolini arguably is the whipping lady of the group. And so for me, I just think that Coco Gauff got it so bad when she lost to Pegula, her compatriot. But regardless, we keep our finger crossed. Anything can happen. I mean, Gauff can rise on tomorrow and did the needful against Arina Sabalenka. And there's something, that's the beauty of sport. But for me, I'm just thinking that looking at the first 2 games, arguably we think that Arina Sabalenka will go through. And except something tragic happens, I also see Jessica Pegula going through.
All right, Kelechi, let's take a look at the other group. Swiatek and Amanda Nisimova are currently on, as we speak, looking a little bit dicey, of course, in that. But we understand that Elena Rybakina, she's through already, in that one. But what do you make of the contest this evening, Iga Swiatek against Amanda Nisimova?
It's a must-win for both of them. Swiatek and Anisimova actually look at playing for the next round. And Anisimova, interestingly, has actually been a wonderful player so far this year, and she was someone who nobody really gave a chance. Losing the last 2 Grand Slam finals without winning a single game, and how she's improved and gotten past that to losing to Swiatek, and now she's playing the same Swiatek, and it's going to be interesting to see what she really does in this particular game. And I think it's going to be KG, but I'm expecting Iga Swiatek to go through because of the experience and the level of experience she's got when also playing against Anisimova. She had that mental edge, and I'm really rooting for her to see her go past the next stage.
All right, talking about Iga Swiatek, going past the next stage tempo, Iga Swiatek, a lot of expectation on her. We've seen how, she struggled a bit, of course, this season, and still struggling from what we've seen in this WTA finals. What do you make of the struggle for Iga Swiatek? We expect, the expectation has been her going 2-2 with Arina Sabalenka, but we're not seeing that at the moment.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it happens. But one thing I think is that Elena Rybakina, yes, she's been able to win. She has won the group already, getting past Alexandrova, Katrina, and for Iga Swiatek, I just think that it's just one of those things. I wouldn't want to say that she's sparked out, because arguably she's selected even when the WTA came out with the strict sanction. I mean restriction. Say that there are a certain number of WTA tour you must play this season, But I just think that it's just one of those things. Maybe not fatigue. It's just normal that she want to give her best, and she's not getting it the way she wants it. It could also be the motivation. It could just be anything. But I don't want to think that because she's injured, because arguably she's not. I just want to believe that she's not too fancied for this one. Maybe she's not well motivated internally, because sometimes what brings out the best is your internal motivations, those intrinsic factors that she has won it before. She's achieved everything you want to say as compared to all these ladies. So for me, is ending the year perfectly. She's world number 2. She knows that there's nothing making her, even if she gets to win the WTA final, she can't get above Arina Sabalenka. So the motivation is different. But I just think that in that group, she's second to Rybakina. On paper, when the game started last week, we felt that she has what it takes to rule the group. But I mean, it's been clear that even if she gets to the semi-finals, I will not see tip her to win, because from the fight I've seen in Group A, the Serena Williams group should have been a roller coaster ride for her. But look at what Rybakina is doing. And for me, I'm beginning to think that she's not just internally motivated, and that's why we're not getting to see her best.
All right, talking about finishing well this year, Kelechi, after we saw talking about the Paris Masters, we saw the conclusion of that one. Yannick Sinner, of course, regained back his number 1 spot ahead of, Carlos Alcaraz. What do you make of the season for the man? He was banned for 3 months, came back, and now still the world number 1. How will you describe the season for Yannick Sinner?
I think it's been nothing short of extraordinary, if you ask me. We all thought he was going to struggle. For someone who actually accepted the ban substance clostrobol, which was actually found in his body during a test, and we all thought he was going to struggle. Not many players can actually come off a suspension or 3 months off and still find the rhythm, but it even looked like he actually became a better player. Just losing the Grand Slam final to Carlos Alcaraz, which we actually thought was just only bad side we've seen of Sinner. Carlos Alcaraz was really about the only player who knows how to beat Yannick Sinner so far this year. So it's really been a successful season for Yannick Sinner. I always expected him to win the Paris Masters, if you ask me, since the early exit of Carlos Alcaraz, and I expected him to finish the year as world number 1, even despite losing it out in the US Open to Carlos Alcaraz. But I think he still finished the season with 2 Grand Slams, which is actually a wonderful season, and he just needs to win, I think, the Indian Wells or one of the Miami Open, just to win all of the major Masters, and to achieve that feat even before the age of 30 is an incredible feat for him. So Yannick Sinner will always be a player to beat, and I expect him to still continue up until next year as well.
There was a lot of expectation on Carlos Alcaraz, looking at the fact that Cena was banned for 3 months, and everyone the expectation was Alcaraz is going to, of course, rule the season. But this is what it is now. He's not the world number one. Do you say Alcaraz probably maybe possess some level of, let's say laziness, this season?
Yeah, for Carlos, I think there are some chinks in his armor sometimes, and when you look at him, he's still human after all. And sometimes when you watch him play, he can actually be brilliant and phenomenal. But I think for Carlos Alcaraz, some of the games that he actually played, especially towards the later part of the season, he
Kelechi, are you there? All right, so Tramos is going to see how to track, of course, establish that connection once again with Kelechi Clifford on the show. But Temple, Alcaraz, of course, is the number 2 player, as it stands. When Yannick Sinner went on that 3 months ban, everyone, the expectation was that, Alcaraz is going to rule the season. But this is where he is, world number 2 at this point in time. With this, will you say that Yannick Sinner is far better, than Carlos Alcaraz? Looking at the fact that he was out for 3 months, came back, and still retained his world number 1 status.
Not really, not really. The circumstances are not the same. Okay, but at least one thing standing is the fact that Yannick Sinner has been a fantastic player in the last 1 year, and that's very evident. Regardless of the doping saga, he's very motivated to still come back. And then, last season, Alcaraz had a very, very 40 steps in terms of building points. So it's just normal that Yannick Sinner had close to about 4,000 points difference. And then he came back and he didn't participate for some time. He also came back, struggled, to fix himself. And Alcaraz was still struggling same. And then both of them were able to win, and they cancelled themselves. And somehow, just maximum of few points margin. So you see that Alcaraz is still at that level. The only thing now is next season we truly define who is the best in terms of win ratio, in terms of toll ratio, in terms of picking points. That's what we define. But for now, you cannot debunk the claim that the both of them are for the finest on the court. But one thing standing is that when it comes to fighting deep, you give it to Yannick Sinner. It's because of Yannick Sinner that Novak Djokovic has not won his 25th Grand Slam. And that's the simple truth. Because if Yannick Sinner hadn't stopped Novak Djokovic at some of the tour, maybe we would have been saying something different. So I think that Yannick Sinner has a deeper vibe when it comes to playing than Alcaraz. But Alcaraz is also a fine player. And then we'll get to also see how their systemic play will all play out when they play in the ATP finals coming up this Sunday.
All right, so that's much we could bring to you from tennis at this moment. We'll take a break. When we'll return, of course, we'll talk about football. Cristiano Ronaldo is in the news this time around. We'll take a look at that when we return from this break. Stay with us, we'll be right back. You're welcome back, Steve Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network, and of course, we've been, taking a look at tennis. WTA finals, of course, is on, and as well, River Super's playmaker talking about Kevin Amayo talking tough ahead of the final for down here in the city of Port Harcourt, talking about the Nigerian Premier Basketball League. But time to talk football, of course, on the show this evening. In a recent interview, Cristiano Ronaldo, captain of Al-Nassr, made a bold statement that sparked the beats once again. Ronaldo insists that winning the World Cup should not determine who is the greatest of all time. And that's what, of course, the man said. Said winning the World Cup shouldn't determine who should be, of course, regarded as the greatest of all time. Tempo, I would like to start with you on this. What do you make of this session from Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yeah, truly. A lot of persons, those who are for and those who are against Cristiano Ronaldo, there's been this cold rivalry between Ronaldo and El Messi, okay, Lionel Messi. Some persons think that because Messi has won the World Cup, that's where the thing is coming from. Messi is a better player. And to many, they define those who win the World Cup as those who are the greatest of footballers. So Ronaldo is quick to put it that it is not everybody who have won the World Cup, that the legacies that he has kept is bigger than winning the World Cup. You going for a tournament does not define you. How you end up, it does not really define you. So I think that's where that's the root of all that he said. And you look at it deeply, you ask a lot of questions. Is it true? Yes. In 2006, Cannavaro won the African Best Player after Italy won the World Cup. After then, in club football, Cannavaro was not as good as some of the, or fancied as some of the best defenders, at that level. So I think that some persons are good when it comes to tournament. Chelsea Football Club, if we go by what Chelsea did at the last FIFA Club World Cup, then we should not be seeing Chelsea struggle in the league. So it's different thing altogether, and players cannot be judged based on tournament. Fantastic. It was a lovely time to get into win with Argentina. They defied all odds, and of course we saw it coming because they've also been in the final even before they won that particular one. So for me, I agree with Cristiano Ronaldo in total, and that it's not about a tournament. Good one, Messi was lucky, he won that one and did fantastic and lifted that trophy. But then, is he the highest goal scorer in the world? So if you look at it from that perspective, you begin to think differently. But like Cristiano has said, I think the thing is, you go for a tournament, it is fine that he was able to win, but you won't blame Cristiano Ronaldo that he has not been able to win the World Cup because of with Portugal. Portugal have gone far, they've always competed, they've always qualified at least to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, but somehow, they've not been able to, get to the finals to win it. So you won't blame Cristiano Ronaldo, but like I said, trophy counts. But Ronaldo is saying no. In this sense, he does not rule out the fact that I've done so well in football, and he does not want anybody to diminish his effort.
Let me also get a thought of Kelechi on this. Kelechi, Ronaldo said that winning the World Cup should not be a yardstick of, tagging a player greatest of all time. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with him. I mean, they always say that because Messi won the World Cup, he's up.
Slug it out for 11 years. So when you look at it, look at the goal matching, the trophy leading career. You look at their effort in the clubs they play. This one is still banging in, this one is still scoring. So it's just been like that. And I think that how defining he's been with his national team too. The both of them are captain, but we all know that when it comes to giving out the best, the both of them have also done it. So it's a lot of indices will be used to measure the best player between Lionel Messi and for two players to dominate the football landscape for 2 decades, you cannot but think that these guys have really done so well. Club side, all the clubs that they play for, they gave their 100%. And in terms of goal scoring, they are always there. In terms of national team activity, they are also there. And then when you talk about branding, sponsorship, and their value, their valuation, you can also rule them out. Popularity, otherwise, just like Pele and Maradona of old. So I think that when it comes to that level, they have all defied all odds. But then one have gotten the other. The other also had more goals. But goals is what makes football fantastic. And more records for himself at 40, 41. So I think that on par, you just place them side by side, but you cannot diminish the effort of one because one has won this and one has achieved this. I don't think that's the best way to judge it.
Kelechi, of course, we have Kelechi back on the show. Kelechi, you said you agree with Cristiano Ronaldo that winning the World Cup shouldn't be a yardstick for saying a player is the greatest of all time. Then what should we consider before we say a player is the greatest of all time? What do you think are the criteria to consider at this point before we say a player is the greatest of all time?
I think it's easy to say someone is the greatest of all times in other fields of sport like basketball or tennis. But when it comes to football, the debate is always going to be endless because when you like a particular player, no matter what any other player you don't like does, it will always never be enough. And I think it's fair to say that right now, Lionel Messi is the greatest of all time because he's won it all. He's won more Ballon d'Or than every other player. He's won the World Cup. He's won everything that is supposed to be won. And whether or not he has to score the highest number of goals ever in football, it's still up for debate. So Ronaldo doesn't necessarily need to win the World Cup to be the greatest of all time because they will always say he doesn't have 6 Ballon d'Or, he doesn't have 7 Ballon d'Ors, he doesn't have at least more than 1 World Cup, because he hasn't won more World Cup than Lionel Messi. So when it comes to greatest of all time in this field of sports, it's never going to be enough winning the World Cup, Ronaldo, or not winning the World Cup. So it all depends on the individual. Anybody can actually be the greatest of all time, but as far as football is concerned, you can never have the greatest of all time. Pele is there up as well. So Ronaldo doesn't win the World Cup to be the greatest of all time. And even if he wins it, people would definitely always find something to say he doesn't have this one and he doesn't have that one. So I think as far as winning the World Cup is concerned, that would be good for his CV, but he doesn't necessarily need to win the World Cup to be the greatest of all time. I think Lionel Messi, for me, is still the greatest of all time, even if Ronaldo wins it. So that's my opinion.
All right, that's how, of course, it has been. Cristiano Ronaldo said that winning the World Cup doesn't make a player the greatest of all time. That there are other things you have to consider, goals, impact, of course, in the game. Those are things you really have to look out for before you say a player is the greatest of all time, at this point. This debate, of course, is something that will still continue in years to come, and we'll see how this one, of course, will go down. Talking about Ronaldo at 40 years old, he has lifted every major trophy possible in club and continental football, but the World Cup remains the only one missing from his collection. He may get one last shot with Portugal next year, but that, he says, doesn't define his legacy. A big one at this point in time, and the question is, will he get it this time around? Talking about the World Cup that comes up next year. Temple.
Very difficult to say, but I think that Portugal they've always competed to winning the World Cup. Somehow they will meet the Waterloo, but then you cannot rule them out. They are one of the teams. If you mention 8 teams that likely might be chasing for the World Cup trophy, you will not forget to add Portugal there because as much as you think that the Spanish team of this world, the English team of this world, the English team have also competed high too, but somehow they've not won, I've also looked at the fact that the Italian team, the French national team, Brazilian, the Argentines, it's difficult not to place Portugal, among the pedigree of teams that possibly might lay their hands on the trophy. It all depends on what they're able to do when the time comes proper, because this time around I've seen that it's not about qualifying from your group stage. It's about digging deep. We saw what Morocco did, It's about digging deep and doing the needful and going all the way out to getting your hands on that. And the mentality of the players on that period matters so much. So I think that Portugal have really done so well, and also somehow too they've had good score going forward. So Cristiano Ronaldo is a man, just one man, and a three, like they said, do not make a force. He requires other players to be at his best because he's very hungry for that particular trophy. But then it can be very the best generation of Argentina never won the World Cup. Tevez, Zabaleta, they never lifted the World Cup. Aguero, but Lionel Messi was fortunate to be part of it, and look at it today. So I think that it's about the motivation. It's about also what happens, the drama that will play out during then. So for me, I just keep my finger crossed and hope that I want him to win the World Cup. He's done everything in football, and somehow football can be it can be rewarding and can be fierce too. So if he has advantage of the guys living up expectation and him getting to win, just like I crave for England to win the World Cup. But it's not about we craving, it's about what happens during the period. If luck smiles at them and then something happens to the big guys and they can stroll down to the finals, when they get to that level, then anything can happen. But for now, it's very difficult to make those calls.
Difficult to make those calls, and we'll see how this one, of course, will go down. We keep our fingers crossed and see if Cristiano Ronaldo will lay his hands on that FIFA World Cup trophy come next year. Well, let's talk about the UEFA Champions League, as we saw some exciting results yesterday. Napoli, of course, played goalless against Eintracht Frankfurt. Slava Prague, they lost to Arsenal 3-0. Atletico Madrid beat Union St. Cluj 3-1. Bodo Glimt lost to Monaco by 1-0. Juventus played 1-1 draw against Sporting Lisbon. Liverpool got past Real Madrid by 1-0. Olympiacos played 1-1 draw against PSV Eindhoven, and Paris Saint-Germain were beaten by Bayern Munich 2-1. It ended down there. Tottenham Hotspur, they got past FC Copenhagen 4-0 down there. Kelechi, I beg your pardon, Liverpool, of course, they have to hold their own down there at Anfield after, of course, not really having a very good one, in their last few games. What do you make of that performance, from Liverpool yesterday? And did you see that a winning for them?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Liverpool. Of course, Anfield is always going to be a fortress, especially in the Champions League. Never write Liverpool off, especially at Anfield. And these are the kind of game that turns their season around. We know how they've struggled, especially in the last couple of games. They managed to win to get back to win ways against Aston Villa, and now, of course, it's back-to-back wins for them. I think the importance of McAllister has been underrated. He came back, and now Liverpool winning again. So it's very, very important that they continue in this momentum. Beating Real Madrid is definitely going to be a huge boost for them, because Real Madrid, of course, is one of the teams that can actually push for the Champions League this season under Xabi Alonso. So a much needed win for Liverpool, and I was really impressed with how they played overall. And this is a good game for them to prepare ahead of their crunch class against Manchester City during the weekend.
It's not been a good one for Xabi Alonso tempo when it has to do with big games. We saw what happened against Atletico Madrid, even against Juventus as well. So points, he was actually beaten by FC Barcelona, 2-1. And yesterday as well, another big occasion, he lost to Liverpool 1-0. What do you make of Xabi Alonso not being able to, grind out the results in big games?
I think that he's still maybe somehow the tactics on the day could also be the challenge. Like we saw yesterday clearly, I think that they tried to hold on in that game. The Liverpool that we saw, I wouldn't say that they underrated the team, but like he said in his presser, they came to play, but the tactics of Liverpool yesterday was just lovely, and I think that they had more focus on Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Junior. And the moment Bradley locked up Vinicius Junior, Kylian Mbappe was not given any room to also cause the damage. And so I think that's where also melted. And the midfield too was a little bit very cagey for them. On the whole, it happens sometimes when you play for them. And I think that for him too, he needs to have a way to tweak it. Like Carlo Ancelotti did that so much, before he left, tweaking the midfield to suit each of the teams. So I think he needs to go beyond studying the teams that they're going to play, to understand what possibly they might come up with. I think he's still playing with the mentality of Bayern Leverkusen. I have not seen him. I don't think he has fitted himself into the Real Madrid setup, so to say, to play with that pride that comes with the games. I just think that he's still doing the normal tactics of playing a big team. It doesn't work that way because Madrid has a tradition when they play big team. Unfortunately, apart from Kylian Mbappe, you look at the squad and ask a lot of questions. But he needs to really get some players who will also manage those things. The players are good, but I don't think that they can stand up rightly because it looks like everybody have studied how Real Madrid plays. And the moment they take them on, they become a flash in the palm. There's nothing they can do again. They just using individual brilliance. And when those individuals are locked down, they too are locked down. So I think that's been the challenge of Madrid. So a new revolution needs to be conducted, and that's getting other players that will suit into the club and maybe doing something different. Otherwise, I don't see Madrid even going further in the Champions League as expected.
Kelechi, Bayern Munich, of course, continued a winning streak this season. What has Vincent Kompany, what has he done to this team that have made them so perfect for this way?
I think he has really made that team hard to beat. They've always been hungry for every game to win all 3 points. I was listening to what he had to say about it, and he told them that they need to ensure that they're taking one game at a time. And Bayern Munich 16 wins in a row is not an easy feat for someone who came from only a former championship side, took them to the Premier League, and now he's managing one of the biggest clubs in the world. And now we all thought he was going to struggle, but he's actually done a fabulous job, and we cannot underrate anybody. Vincent Kompany has actually done a wonderful job. Bayern Munich, of course, needed that revenge against PSG that knocked them out of the Club World Cup, and so they've built the best team in the world, which is Chelsea, and now the Champions League winners, which is PSG. And so Bayern Munich are actually a team to beat now. They've continued in that fashion, and I'm really interested to see what happens in the next game. And they have to play against Arsenal, I think, in the next Champions League game, which is going to be a crunch fixture to look forward to. And I think between Bayern and Arsenal, those are the two teams that have beaten in the Champions League so far, or have actually won all games so far. And Bayern Munich are actually a wonderful team under Vincent Kompany, if you ask me.
Let's take a look at tonight's fixtures as Pafos will lock arms against Villarreal. We'll see Karabakh against Chelsea. It's going to be Ajax against Galatasaray tonight. Benfica against Bayer Leverkusen. Club Brugge will lock arms against Barcelona. And we'll see Inter Milan against Kairat Almaty. Manchester City will lock arms against Borussia Dortmund. And we'll see Marseille, the OB National against Atalanta, as Newcastle United will lock arms against Athletic Club. Ajax Galatasaray tonight's tempo. Victor Osimhen, do you see him getting on the score sheet tonight?
It all depends on how he's motivated into the game. But I think that the Galatasaray we want to win. They're not playing at home, so you don't also take the fact that Amsterdam will feed up. That also can be intimidating. So let's see if he can go to Amsterdam and pick and get a scoreline. But it's expected that any game he plays, especially coming to play for Nigeria soon, he needs to have this scoring edge. I wish that he would score. I wish as a Nigerian that he would score, but somehow, don't forget that Ajax haven't been at the best of themselves, and so maybe just this night too, they will also want to win. So we'll keep our finger crossed. It depends on how the tactics, depends on what the motivation, depends on what his teammates can also do to helping him. If they give him some true good passes and maybe some lovely set pieces, and he can make advantage of that, and depending on the defense lineup, all of this will be factored. If he can score a goal today, but I wish he would score as a Nigerian.
Kelechi, let's talk about Chelsea, the lock-ons against Karabakh tonight. Can they get all 3 points after getting the job done against Tottenham Hotspur over the weekend?
You expect Chelsea to get the win against Karabakh. Karabakh at Azerbaijan are always going to be a difficult side, especially at home. But Chelsea, with the experience, even when they play with their second team, their second players, I looked at the lineup. I saw players like Gittens in the lineup. Estevao, of course, gets in the Champions League run, which is actually good for his confidence. Kato, Tosin, Chelsea have got a wonderful second team that can actually grind out results. And you expect them to get the job done. A comfortable win should be expected from this Chelsea side. Anything short of victory it's definitely going to be a bad result for them. And these are the games that Chelsea need to win, because the bigger games are coming. Barcelona, of course, Napoli. These are games that Chelsea will struggle to get all 3 points. And so you need to get all 3 points when you should get 3 points. And I expect them to get the job done today.
Temple, it looks like a resurgent Manchester City side from what, of course, we've seen at this point. They look formidable. Take a look at the Premier League, 6 points behind Arsenal, football club. The lock-ons against Dortmund tonight. Erling Haaland, of course, has been talking tough, ahead of this encounter. Do you see him getting a goal tonight, and you think City can take all 3 points, in this encounter?
Yeah, City, they are one of the most motivated teams. Like I think Clifford said that it takes one game to redefine your career if you have not been having it rosy, like we saw Liverpool. That win against Aston Villa has really changed the narrative and the dynamics of play. They are well motivated now because, especially when they play big teams, there's this motivation that comes in, then that come on continue together. So for me, I think that with all the praises and encomium showered on Erling Haaland recently via his brace, I think that the guy is even more motivated to score more goals. Scoring 13 in just few games, it tells you that he's not done with what he started. I expect that to be a firework today at Etihad, but take nothing also away from Dortmund. In the league, sometimes the league factor may not play in when you play in the continent. So I don't know which of the Dortmund will come into the game today, but if Dortmund that I know come in with a full force, they are also going to be very, very fierce. So with the bad defense, maybe not bad, but I think that they concede more goals as expected. But then the offensive nature of City might just be the cutting edge. But I still think that the City might get a home advantage victory from this game.
Kelechi, let's just take a look at this one before we call it a wrap on the show. It's going to be Marseille against Atalanta. Let's talk about Lookman. I think he got to go, was it, I think over the weekend. And that was, of course, I think his first goal for a very, very long time, in the side. Do you see Ademola Lookman, of course, making an impact in tonight's encounter against Marseille?
Yeah, absolutely. Ademola Lookman, player Atalanta likes it or not, is a very important player for them, and he has to play. He's the one player they can actually look at for when it comes to giving them goals. And Marseille is not going to be an easy fixture playing at the home of Marseille, but Atalanta, they need to start winning because they struggled in the last game played. Is a 0-0 draw against Slavia Prague in the last game, so getting a win is very, very important for them. And Ademola Lookman is definitely that man that actually get the goals, and he needs to play, he needs to start, he needs to inspire them to 3 points, if you ask me. And so I expect them to at least get the draw in this game.
All right, let's see how it goes down there tonight. Match day 4, of course, comes up once again tonight, and we'll see how that one, of course, will go down. And of course, time to bring you a sport extraordinaire on the show. No other than Mas Dortman. The Arsenal teenager becomes the youngest player to feature in a Champions League game after a substitute appearance in the 3-goal win at Slavia Prague at age 15 years and 308 days. The forward broke the record set by Yusufa Moukoko when the German featured for Borussia Dortmund against Zenit at 16 years and 18 days. We'll call it a wrap at this point. Special thanks to Temple for doing justice on the show, and as well a special thanks to Kelechi Clifford. Kelechi, thanks very much for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me as well.
All right, you can go down to our different social media handle, Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. The conversation continues right there. I'll be back tomorrow, 7 a.m. for Sports Talk to bring you results of the UEFA Champions League games tonight. My name is Kingsley Manuel. Thanks for watching.